There is a number the shipping industry rarely publicizes. Roughly 50 large commercial vessels, bulk carriers, container ships, tankers, offshore supply ships are reported lost at sea every single year, according to annual reports compiled by maritime insurance organizations including Allianz. That figure has been gradually declining since the early 2000s, when the annual toll reportedly ran closer to 200 vessels. The improvements come from better navigation, better hull design, and stricter inspection regimes. But 50 is still 50. 50 large hulls, every year gone. And here's what makes that number stranger than it should be. The world's commercial fleet now totals around 100,000 vessels above a certain tonnage threshold. 50 losses out of 100,000 sounds small, it's a percentage. But the human and economic weight inside those 50 disappearances is enormous, and the patterns hidden within them tell a story most people never hear. Start with the obvious. Ships sink because the ocean is the largest, most powerful environment on the planet. A category for typhoon in the South China Sea generates wave heights and wind speeds that no commercial hull is fully designed to survive without active routing decisions. The MV El Faro, a U.S.-flagged cargo ship carrying 33 crew, sank in the path of Hurricane Joaquin in October 2015. All hands were lost. The subsequent National Transportation Safety Board investigation reportedly identified a combination of weather miscalculation, vessel design issues, and corporate pressure on captains to maintain schedules. The El Faro is one of the most thoroughly documented losses in modern maritime history, and her story sits at the cleanest end of the spectrum, a real accident. Fully investigated, lessons published. But not every disappearance gets that treatment. Most do not. Industry analysts reportedly group annual losses into rough categories. Weather and collision losses make up the largest share. Fires on board, especially involving lithium-ion batteries, misdeclared dangerous. Cargo or fuel-related ignition account for a growing slice. Foundering, meaning the vessel filled with water and sank without a clear external cause, counts for a stubborn portion. Machinery failure, structural failure, and grounding fill in the rest. Each category has its own economics and its own typical pattern. Here is where it gets interesting. The vessels that sink are not randomly distributed across the global fleet. They skew older. They skew toward certain flag registries. They skew toward certain trade routes. Industry reports have repeatedly noted that ships over 15 years old are reportedly involved in a disproportionate share of total losses. Flagov convenience registries, open registries that allow easy registration, lower fees, and lighter oversight, reportedly account for a higher share of incidents per vessel mile than traditional national flags. Certain trade routes, particularly bulk carrier voyages in monsoon seasons, see clusters of losses that come back year after year. Why do these patterns persist? The answer is uncomfortable. Older vessels cost less to operate but reportedly carry higher risk. Their structural fatigue is harder to detect without expensive inspections. Their cargo handling systems may not be designed for modern dangerous goods rules. Their crew accommodations and safety equipment may not match current standards. Yes, and yet they remain in service because the freight market still pays for their capacity. The economics tilt them toward marginal trades, older cargo, riskier routes, smaller operators, and the risk concentrates. Then there are the losses that defy easy explanation. The MV Stellar Daisy, a converted or carrier flagged in the Marshall Islands, broke apart and sank in the South Atlantic in March 2017 with 24 crew aboard. Only 2 survived. The subsequent investigation reportedly pointed to structural fatigue in a vessel that had been converted from an oil tanker to a bulk carrier, a conversion type that has been associated with multiple losses over the years. The Mole Comfort, a container ship operated by a Japanese line, broke in two in the Arabian Sea in June 2013, scattering thousands of containers into the ocean. The cause was reportedly traced to hull design issues. In a class of vessels that subsequently underwent industry-wide reassessment, these are not exotic mysteries. These are engineering and management failures, often documented after the fact. The public usually only hears about them when the loss involves enough crew, enough cargo, or enough environmental damage to break into international news. Most disappearances do not. Now consider the suspicious tier. A small but persistent portion of annual losses gets flagged by underwriters as suspicious, meaning the timing, the cargo manifest, or the operational context raises questions. Marine insurance investigators reportedly examine these cases for indicators including overinsurance, sudden vessel transfers, recent flag changes, and unusual cargo declarations. The number of confirmed insurance fraud cases per year is small, but the suspected number reportedly runs higher. Here's what they don't tell you. Once a vessel sinks in deep water, forensic recovery is extraordinarily difficult. The wreck may be in 3,000 or 4,000 meters of salt water, beyond the reach of conventional salvage operations. Specialized deep-sea recovery costs millions of dollars per day and is rarely commissioned unless a major loss of life or environmental damage demands it. Insurance investigators must usually rely on documentary evidence, vessel records, communications, maintenance logs, to assess a claim. The seabed keeps its own counsel. The crew of these vessels rarely make the news. Industry reports reportedly track seafarer fatalities at around 75 to 100 deaths per year associated with major shipping incidents. The crews come predominantly from the Philippines, India, China, Ukraine, and several West African nations. Their families face long, complex compensation processes, particularly when the vessel was operating under a flag of convenience with minimal labor protections. The International Transport Workers Federation has documented persistent gaps in how these families are supported. This connects to your life through a quiet pricing mechanism. Marine hull and cargo insurance premiums reportedly factor expected annual losses into the rates charged for global trade. Every container, every barrel of fuel, every ton of grain moving across the ocean carries a small share of the cost of those 50 vessels that did not arrive. The premium is small per shipment. Multiplied across global volume, it reportedly adds up to billions per year, billions that ultimately find their way into the cost of the goods on your shelves. And the environmental cost is rarely accounted for. When a ship sinks, her fuel tanks may rupture, her cargo may leak. Refrigerants, lubricants, and bunker oil reportedly enter the marine environment in quantities that can be ecologically significant. Some losses are managed with active cleanup. Many are not. The seabed quietly absorbs what the surface forgets. The most uncomfortable question is the structural one. Why has the annual loss rate plateaued at around 50? With modern navigation, satellite weather forecasting, automated inspection regimes, and improved hull designs, the figure should be falling faster. Industry analysts reportedly point to several factors: the steady aging of certain segments of the fleet, the persistent attractiveness of flag of convenience registration, the economic pressure to defer maintenance, and the rise of new cargo risks including lithium-ion fires. The losses keep coming because the incentives that produce them keep aligning. There is one more emerging category that maritime safety researchers reportedly watch closely: container fires linked to lithium-ion batteries shipped as undeclared or misdeclared cargo. The MV Felicity Ace, a car carrier transporting around 4,000 vehicles, caught fire in the Atlantic in February 2022 and sank weeks later. The incident reportedly highlighted growing concerns about electric vehicle batteries and the difficulty of fighting fires aboard vessels carrying them. Industry estimates suggest the share of losses linked to battery and dangerous goods misdeclaration reportedly continues to climb. So the next time you hear a casual statistic about how safe modern shipping has become, remember the number: 50 vessels every year. Real hulls, real crew, real cargo, real money. Most never make the news. A few become legendary. The rest disappear quietly into insurance reports and seabed sediment, and the world barely notices. If you want to understand how the rest of this hidden economy functions, how ghost fleets are still running, how empty ships are now more valuable as targets than full ones, and how a single choke point can cost the world $10 billion in less than a week, the story is only getting bigger. The ocean is the largest stage in the world. Most of what happens on it never gets televised. That, in many ways, is exactly how the system was designed to work. The disappearance is the feature, not the bug.